I know. Can you say testing?
There you go.
For the camera that way, and there.
Yeah.
Try it again.
Yeah.
Testing.
It's meant to be. It's not. That's like the place. Good. More on this side. Yeah. Okay, that's starting now. I'm just gonna go there.
Oh.
I have to. You have to move it.
Are you ready to start? Yeah. Yes. Make sure it doesn't fall off. Well, yeah. Been it really long.
Oh, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent Barrios, staff, and guests. Thank you for joining us this evening for our special board meeting. It is 6:00 p.m. now, and I call this meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have our agenda in front of us today. If there are any changes, or if there are not any changes, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented. I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. The next item of the agenda is public comment. Jenny, you received any public comment?
We did not.
So seeing none, we will move on to action item 3, which is the OSBA elections. Between her board of directors position 11. And forgive me. Candidates Satyanarayana Chandradhuri and Karina Guzman Ortiz. So during the 2025 OSBA election for the Marion Region Board Position 11, no candidate received a majority of votes cast. In accordance with election procedures and OSBA bylaws 3.5.2D, when more than 2 candidates are nominated and none secures a majority, a second regional ballot is required between the 2 candidates with the highest number of votes. The 2 candidates each received 50% of votes in the initial election. Therefore, a second voting period is now open to determine the elected representatives for Marion Region Board Position 11. Boards must take official action to cast their votes. Is there any discussion before we take action? Okay. Do I have a motion for to vote for a candidate?
Go ahead. I move to vote for Karina Guzman Ortiz for OSBA Board of Directors, position 11.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion on that?
I was gonna make a motion to vote for Satya with his experience and his recommendation explanation of several seminars that we've attended over the years. And clear explanation of any misunderstanding of rules or regulations. So especially on the financial aspect of school board finances. I feel like he has a really good, clear explanation of it, and I think he'd be a great candidate.
Any additional discussion? All in favor of voting for Karina Guzman Ortiz for the OSBA Board of Directors position 11, please say aye. Aye.
I
Opposed, same sign.
oppose.
Yes. Okay. Motion carries 3-0. Jenny will submit. Oh, 3-1. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's been a while. Jenny will submit our vote on the official OSBA ballot. Okay, we're now going to move into our work session. And our first item is WSD Dual Language Program presented by Superintendent Barrios and Director Chrissy Chapman.
I invited Director Chapman to join us here up front. Dual language is a topic that the board identified as an area on that knowledge back in the board retreat back in August. So tonight we're bringing forward information around the dual language program, and thank you to the board members who submitted questions in advance. We'll do our best to try to get responses to those questions and responses as we can, getting more information from others put them to make decisions on programs and finances and future planning forward.
Hi, good evening, Chair members, Superintendent Barrios and board members. So thank you for having me. Thank you. So yes, I put together a professional development opportunity for you on dual language, and so we'll go ahead and jump right into that. You'll have lots of opportunities to talk with each other, to learn together, and ask questions as well. Okay. So I wanted to start out by connecting this work to the strategic plan. There are a lot of parts of the strategic plan where dual language and multilingual learning shows up, and so a lot of that comes in the some of the specific objectives that are in there, but also within our values. So we have a value of multilingualism, which really is the cornerstone of our dual language program, and so we also have in there cultural diversity, lifelong learning, equity. So there are a lot of different values that tie into the dual language program, as well as just our overall vision. All right, gotta manage two computers here. Oh, there we go. And so one of the strategic plan connections is around each student will graduate prepared to pursue college career options and success in life and have the opportunity to become bilingual and biliterate. So that is called out specifically in our strategic plan, as well as demonstrating proficiency in all state academic areas, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit later. That is one of the foundational pieces of a dual language program, is the language proficiency as well as academic success. And then I also wanted to connect this to our district goals. We do have the reading goal where we expect students in grades K-8 to increase the percentage of students who are reading on grade level. And as you know, the state is looking at third grade reading, but as a district, we are really looking across the grade levels, utilizing our district assessments such as STAR, which we can give in English and Spanish. And our Russian team also created a Russian assessment that mirrors one of the STAR assessments. And so we're really working towards increasing the reading proficiency for students in a bilingual and biliterate setting. And then the other goal that this ties to is increasing the number of students receiving the 5th and 8th grade recognitions of biliteracy, which helps us to indicate, which students are on track to receive the seal of biliteracy or multiliteracy once they get into high school. And so our goal is to increase the percentage of students by 5% this year compared to last year for students who receive those recognitions in grades 5th, 8th, and 12th grade. And then our objectives for tonight. Oops. Oh, it was the wrong way. So we have two objectives for tonight. One is to deepen your understanding of our dual language program. And then the other one is to examine the Woodburn School District guidance for serving multilingual learners and their families, which is like our program manual that is newly revised. So those are the two outcomes for tonight. All right. With all professional developments, we typically start with some sort of a connection activity. So it's a chance for you to get to know the other people participating in the professional development, just to kind of break the ice a little bit. And so, so we're gonna jump right in and do a connection activity. So You are going to select one of the questions to share with an elbow partner. So in this case, you know, you can just talk to someone sitting next to you. Juan and Jenny, if you're participating, you can make a group of 3. If you're not participating, then we've got 2 and 2. So you are going to pick one of these questions that you would like to respond to with your partner and just each take, you know, 30 to 45 seconds to share your answer. So you can either talk about what experience you have learning language. And even if you haven't learned a second language, you learned language as, you know, you continue to learn language in your first language. What do you remember about learning language? And have you ever had a funny or memorable experience that involved language? So pick one of those, talk with an elbow partner for about a minute or 2 minutes. Yeah.
So, experience of learning language.
From kinder all the way.
Yeah.
to graduating.
We used to go to Saturday
Another dual language program.
Actually, at the high school.
And going from.
Yeah, there's like Hayes private school. My dad always.
That's the money that I believe.
$700 kid a year.
But good songs are just.
But,
and
then, of course,
I can.
people
can have.
now that it's engaged in the, you know, public schools, the festivals, the programs, those are fun. Cause like, I was just looking at, I have memories pop up of when my cousins kids and my kids were in elementary school and I had those singing getting started. And the most beautiful, memorable experiences, my cousin needs heroes, she's actually in kindergarten. And her birthday was on Sunday, and I was like, how are you gonna be? She's only 6. She said it so clearly.
That's what it is.
You know, that's funny when I was so frustrated to see one time. So read these. And no, this piece of it, not knowing, but I did remember too that. So I came back, where's Spanish was related to formal language when I thought in a language. And so something like, but I also remember. Coming back and I'd start English for a whole hour, because I'd be sitting with people and I would start talking, and all of a sudden it's just English, and English, and you're just not. So you're like, no, it's good. I didn't even realize what I did, like, you know, do for us. It's amazing. I mean, it was. But it makes me understand why some of the kids. Would not be. The way that they work. It's not easy. British.
I just really myself really because it's over when I'm starting to read talk, it's just like.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to catch up.
So did you?
Yeah, we did through.
You know, go there.
But you're still learning English, like.
They're quite a few.
There's a bit more.
Yeah.
The first year I believe that was.
Yeah, or- Program for that. Yeah, it was like a little Russian.
Yeah, they got a bunch of here.
All right, go ahead and wrap up your conversation. Oh, you're so quick. Used to a room full of, you know, you can be all right. So hopefully that gave you a chance to, you know, just kind of ground yourselves in and what the experience of learning language is, since that's going to be our main topic for tonight. So before you came, I invited you to add to our KWL, and so KWL is a graphic organizer that you can use to, you know, it helps teachers because you can really find out what your audience knows before you do a professional development, and then the W is what you want to know. And so I had invited you to add to this KWL just to give me an idea of, you know, what you already know, what you want to know, so that I'm not just giving you the information that you already have. And then throughout tonight, you'll be thinking about, what are you learning? And there are sticky notes in the bins there that you can jot down things that you learn. And so at the end, I'll collect those and I can add them to your chart so that you have a table of what you learned tonight as well as a group. So, so as we go through the evening, feel free to jot down some things that you're learning on those sticky notes and keep track of those. We could take, well, I guess we could take a look at it. Well, no, that's okay. We'll come back to it. All right. So, dual language programs are based, the vast majority are based on the Center for Applied Linguistics, which is an organization out of Washington, DC. They have developed the 3 pillars of dual language, which is what most dual language programs base their programs on. So you've got these 3 pillars. The first one is bilingualism and biliteracy. The second one is high academic achievement and the sociocultural competence. So those are the 3 pieces of a dual language program that you really want to make sure that are a part of the instructional model, your framework, how you organize the program. And so this is what our program was based on, and these are the 3 areas that we really try to provide professional development in, make sure that our instruction is hitting all 3 of these pillars. The first 2 are much easier to tend to in a dual language program. The third one is the one that tends to be a little bit more challenging or sometimes is overlooked. And so we've spent the last like 3 years about really trying to bolster up that pillar as well. Okay, and then I wanted to put this at the beginning of our time together tonight, just to remind you of the profile of a Woodburn graduate, that 2 different points in time that I collected this data from the school board. So some of you were here, well, I don't know if any of you were here on the, just in 2022.
Oh, no.
I think you were here for the one in 2023, yeah. And so tonight I will be inviting you to think about throughout this evening if there's anything that you want to add to our profile of a Woodburn graduate, since all of you haven't had the opportunity to give your input on this. And even though we're looking at through the lens of dual language tonight, if something else comes to mind, feel free to jot that down. But I just, wanted to share this with you so that you can see the connections that there are to dual language within this. So you see things like bilingual is called out in here. There were a few that I had seen. Global citizen. Thinking that there was one other one I was going to point out, and now I can't remember what it was. But anyhow, so there are some connections to dual language. There's a lot in here about the academic piece, and so thinking about that high academic achievement pillar, there's a lot in here about that one. There are some things around the sociocultural pillar when you think about the equity focused inclusion. So the things that are on here do fall within the 3 pillars of dual language, but as we go through tonight, I really encourage you to think if there's anything else that you would like to add to this profile. Okay, so now when you get to start learning. All right, so at the beginning, I talked about one of our outcomes was to dig into and start to take a look at our guidance for serving multilingual learners and their families. This was previously called the Dual Language Manual, and it's gone through some various iterations over the years. It was first, at least the one that I'm the most familiar with, was written in about 2017 with a consultant that came into the district. It was done prior to me being in the district, and so I can't really speak too much to that process, but we had that one in place for several years. And this newer one really goes beyond just those classrooms where the instructions in English and Spanish or English and Russian. And this really encapsulates like what happens with students who come in as qualifying for the English Learner Program, or what does it look like for a newcomer coming into the district, or what does it look like for students who go through the English program and then have access to world language courses. So this manual goes beyond just looking at our two-way immersion classes and encompasses a lot more around multilingual learning in our district. And so this is our most recent version. It is nearly ready for publication. We're just double checking all of the links and everything in it to make sure that everything is is going to where it's supposed to go, but it is in its nearly final state. So you'll be taking a look at a few, two different excerpts from it tonight. And so this first one is 3 pages, and it is looking at a portrait of a successful multilingual graduate. So the reason that I had you look at the last slide, thinking about what does a Woodburn graduate look like, is we actually have a document, like a 3-page, it's not a separate document, but 3 pages in this manual that talks about what it looks like to be a Woodburn graduate in a multilingual setting. So Woodburn of a multilingual learner profile. All right, so let me hand these out to you. And so you will read through this. And as you're reading through it, you can annotate the text. I gave you some ideas on the screen. You're welcome to annotate however you'd like, but you like one? Did you do one? Do I need to sit and talk into the microphone?
No,
It's really hard to
'Cause
sit
it's-
and like lead a PT.
No.
It feels so
You don't,
awkward.
because the
Okay.
microphone's this one.
Oh,
We're
perfect.
just using
Okay.
it to click it.
So you can put a star or like a little asterisk next to ideas that confirm you're thinking about multilingual learners. You could put a question mark if you have a question, an exclamation point if you're like, wow, I really want to remember that, or it surprises you, or you can use any other method that you like. But take a look at this, and as you're reading it, think about what what a Woodburn graduate looks like from a multilingual perspective. Okay, we're gonna do this to 3, just so I know how much more time you'd like. If this is you're ready to go, you don't need any more time, up to 3 minutes with your fingers. So if you need 1 more minute, show me 1 finger, 2, 3. Okay, we'll take 30 more seconds. You are done. Start thinking you're gonna share with a partner, 1 or 2 things that you annotated, so look through your document, decide which thing you'd like to share with the partner. All right, yeah, go ahead and share, 1 or 2 things that you annotated and why you annotated that.
Okay. One of the things I noticed was the out, not that being necessarily, I think, was to be counted on that. Regularity, so all the things, this and says that you know, but I probably didn't. This one, I was still wondering, like.
Yeah, I think it helps them speak confidently and advance their linguistic skills and especially enhance their vocabulary. Because like when they're learning multiple languages, it's like they have 2 sides of the brain, you have to look into the translations. So it's like straight, it's kind of their vocabulary and straight and
district organizing.
it also, it seems like, they speak English with confidence because you know that they can speak into the languages.
Who's doing those, I mean, what's that?
That's, actually, that's a very strong idea. And then of course, the we see the diversity of the community with the different engagements and cultures. Well, because we do come from different backgrounds and community responsibility, social responsibility, more, commitment, carry themselves as creative,
I agree with that.
diverse thinkers. That's what I.
So with the second participation, because we don't do the like, where they have to do cleaning service, so it's like, what other words are they going on that? So use the question way. The other one is, 2 places where it mentions using basically like current context of what's going on in the world, other local or global issues. And I'm wondering, how do you manage, because like things are so polarized as well, and so I'm curious of how that it's kept to a certain level or how that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
kind of.
challenging
And I did see some of the.
navigate right now, so yeah, providing those spaces of opportunity.
That's good.
And yeah, you can definitely leverage that.
Yeah.
For an event, because, topics and approaches that align to students and with
A lot. When I asked, I said, I remember when I was in university. So like, There's that's my question. Study. And the thing about that is. That are meeting.
So,
You already know what's gonna happen, so
yeah.
obviously, I can appreciate that it's current stuff, but sometimes it's also hot topic.
Yeah. Okay, well, it sounds like conversations are winding down a little bit. So you might have noticed that this is aligned to the 3 pillars of dual language. So there was a section on the first one's being bilingual and biliterate, and then the high academic achievement, and then the sociocultural competence. And so that was designed intentionally by to align with those 3 pillars. And the basis for this really came from, we've done those profiles of a learner with various groups over the years. So we've done them with adoption committees, the dual language advisory board has done them, the school board has done them. And so we really took a compilation of all of those to use as a foundation for this this profile. And one thing I do want to point out is it is a profile of a multilingual learner. So we realize that this is not encompass every student in our district because not every student graduates multilingual. But because it's within a guidance that's for serving multilingual learners, we did the profile from that perspective. So we're not saying that this is every student in the district, because there are students who choose not to graduate multilingual or bilingual. And so I just wanted to make that clear, because there were some questions when we first started sharing this, with different groups, like, well, what if a kid, doesn't graduate multilingual? Do they not see themselves here? And it's because it's living in a document that is specific about the multilingual learners in our district, so I did want to point that out. And so as I mentioned before, you will have an opportunity to add to this profile if you would like. So I wanted to invite you here for the next, minute or two to jot down anything that you think we should add to our profile. I know that you all got a copy of this, but I'll just go back so you can see it, if you can read it from where you are. So just take a minute, and you can do it individually, you can do it with someone next to you if you'd like, but just write down on a sticky note, anything that's coming to mind already that you're thinking, oh, I would like to add it to our overall profile. So as we continue, keep jotting down those ideas that you have, as they come to you. I'm just gonna throw what?
Can I just ask a question
Yeah.
about this process? So like if we had questions about, like you said, to put like a question mark,
Mhm.
is there gonna be a point where like we get some clarification on those or?
Yes, if we aren't able to answer them tonight, in the KWL would be a good place to capture those. And I'm going to give you a copy of it, but then you all have access to the electronic one,
Oh.
where you can put in your, like, what you want to learn or what you want to know. So that way it's a good place to capture them, so that if there's some things we need to come back to and, get answers to, a little bit later. So, now I realize it's not linked in here. It's hard not having your own setup. Okay, so let me go back to the KWL. I don't know why it keeps getting stuck. Here we go. All right. So I wanted to pull this up to share with, oh no, oh, that's not yours. This one. I was like, oh no, that document does explain what a KWL is if you ever want to use it. Okay. So right here are the things that you put in prior to tonight. So as I looked through it, there's quite a bit of knowledge around like our state seal of biliteracy, kind of those opportunities for students along the way, which we will talk a little bit more about later on. There were some things about the different types of languages spoken in our district. There was a recognition that we have, a very high number of mom speakers now that have been moving into the district, which is a Mesoamerican language from Central America. We offer Chinese at the high school as a world language. So a fair amount of knowledge about the seal and kind of, the different language learning opportunities in the district. And then kind of what our language demographics look like. And then some things that you wanted to know about some of this is related to the seal of biliteracy, some questions about the seal, and then looking at, how does our program compare to other programs and how are we supporting students who enter with different levels of language exposure, because not every student comes in, some kids come in very bilingual. Some kids come in very strong in Spanish, very strong in Russian, very strong in English. Some students come in completely, bilingual. Some come in with no language in either of those, but they speak a different language. So those are the questions you've had so far and the things that you know. And so I did create a little KWL for each of you that you can utilize. I made two different versions. I wasn't sure which way you would each want to do it. There's one that has all three columns. And then there's one that just has what you have learned. And you can take notes on either one. The learning one is the one we'll focus on the most tonight, which is why I made you a larger one of these. So what we are going to do now is one more reading from our guidance that talks specifically about the different program models that we have in our district. So. Jenny, you interested? Oh. There you go. Okay. All right. Close your eyes while I fast forward through the slide deck again. Okay, so the next section that you are going to read. It keeps getting stuck there. Are pages 19 through 23. And so, like I said, you'll take notes on either this document or you can use the other one. But about the things that you are learning about our program as you read through the document. In the bins that you have, you can use the highlighters out of there if you want. You can use sticky notes, you can annotate. This is your own document for your own learning. And then after you read, you are going to be sharing 3 key takeaways that you take note of in your notes documents. And you'll be going around and sharing with each other, so you'll have a chance to talk to the 3 other members that are here tonight. And then you'll be doing a synthesis of your learning. So for the time being, you're reading and taking notes of the key takeaways of what you're learning. Are there any questions about what you're doing? I like to make sure you know what's coming, so take some notes and be prepared to talk to 3 different people about some key takeaways from the doc. So make sure that you are taking some notes here that you will share with a partner. So as you finish up reading, make sure that you're taking a few notes about your key takeaways. Maybe this took two, how much more time do you, if this is you're ready? 1 minute, 2 minutes. We'll go with 2 more. Okay, so, we are going to do what is called a give one, get one. So you're going to give a partner, an answer, and then you're going to get an answer from your partner as well. So what you do is partner A, so when you get together with your partner, you'll decide who's partner A, who's partner B. So partner A is going to share their key takeaway first, from the reading. And so you can pick any of your key takeaways that you want to share. And then partner B is going to write that down if it's something that they don't already have on their notes. So if I'm partners with Jenny and she tells me something that I haven't already written down, then I'll write down her response as well. So then that's another new thing that I'm like, oh, that's something that maybe I'm also learning, or just some notes that I'll have for later. Even if it's something I already knew, it provides a reminder for you of the learning that was happening tonight. So I think I was planning to do 3 partners, all 3, but I think we'll do 2 different partners, just for the interest of time. And so you will, and then after partner A shares and partner B writes it down, then you flip flop roles. And then partner B shares one of theirs, partner A writes it down. So each of you will have a chance to share a key takeaway, and then you'll each write down your partner's key takeaway. Other questions about how to do this? Okay, we'll start with your elbow partner that you've been working with, just since you've already talked to that person and you've, kind of established a little working relationship here during this training. And then for the second round, I'll have you get up and do it with a different partner. So I did a 2-minute timer. It might be too long. Sometimes people, talk and talk and talk, and it's like they run out of time. Other times you give them more time and then they're done after 45 seconds. So we'll do 2 minutes. If we don't need that much time, I'll just stop it and we'll switch partners. Okay, questions before we start? All right, so go ahead and start talking with your partner and make sure you write down their response. We'll see how that is doing.
I guess we'll find out.
The enrollment requirements. I have the same thing. And then the assessment. I don't know. There's acceptable. Even for the English. Someone that chose to, wouldn't want to enroll their children. Regardless of and I did from having saw on the chart. Yeah, that the enrollment is going to so they were looking at that you continue to include and slowly make appreciates yeah, that's the time at the moment. But with this is like the program at the time model. But even in reality. Especially with the virtual conversion. My kids say that they have small aggression.
No, that it isn't, but like.
Oh,
Why that program is like, because it's like there's language dual instead of like just a regular.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
But yeah, it's not a requirement.
I feel.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's different than what the.
Skills.
So can the
in
Russian,
the future.
in this one, and they
Sometimes.
So it's still the same
Yeah.
requirement after the second grade.
There's
There's gotta be some sort
we
of.
do have like. The third bullet on the requirement, we don't really just come from a country where that was spoken, but you're not.
I know the Russian.
We do have some students coming from Ukraine, for example, where Russian is spoken. But they might not yet be proficient, but they know quite a bit, so they can go and be. Yeah. Oh, our timer, the sound isn't working, so our buzzer did go off. So now you're going to stand up and find another partner and either share what your partner shared with you or a key takeaway that you had jotted down. So something from your notes you're going to share with your new partner. Yep.
So the thing that I learned was the assessments were administered in the registration
Well,
agreement.
I didn't.
Spent so long
No,
on
it's
registering
secondary
and
requirement.
registration, so I learned that. And so then I had the question of like the
The
students,
test, the
like,
test.
did you know that? Is that something like we specifically schedule or is it like we show up and? That's practical.
There's Spanish, Russian, in the high school, but is it French? Yeah. Yeah. I know my son, when we were in Washington, there was a French, and then there was an encouragement that when you enroll in French, the program provided you with extensions, of course, you have to pay like $4,000, but to go and travel for the summer to France with the teacher and a little group of children, I mean, because selected group. I mean, and that was like, my son is so.
I know, right?
Yeah, he learned to speak French, I was like, oh, the encouragement to, of course, you can't go to Russia, but, you know, or go to Spain. Even like, for example, I went to Argentina, which is Spanish, a Spaniard, and the culture there, you know, the food, the people, the area, the art, it was gorgeous. So it's like another form of Spanish language. So,
Yeah, very different.
oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's like the respect of diversity is what I always see that have known, and it's like when they have engagement in language, when they have the desire to expand on the diversity of the other cultures.
Okay, all right, head back to your seats. So the last few slides that we have are to go over the program models, which you had in your reading. I don't know if it's because it's on the. Oh, there we go. Okay. So these visuals just give you an overview of the instructional model that we have for each of our programs. And so this is our Spanish model. It is called an 80-20. The Spanish and the Russian programs are both 80-20 models. You typically base that on what your kindergarten allocation is. We are fortunate enough to have preschool in our program as well. And so our preschool does implement a 90-10 model. So 90% of the day is in Spanish or Russian and 10% is in English. But once you get into kinder and first grade, it's 80-20. So 80% of the day is the partner language, 20% is English. Second and third grade, it's 70-30. Fourth and fifth, it gets up to 50-50. And then in middle and high school, the hope is that students are able to take 2 courses in Spanish or 2 courses in Russian. Sometimes that is dependent upon staffing. At the secondary level, teachers have to be endorsed in their content area as well as being bilingual. And so it can be really challenging to staff secondary programs. A lot of districts for many, many years only had elementary programs. Now, you know, everyone's trying to get secondary programs, but it's a small pool of teachers that we all are pulling from. So we are fortunate though that right now our students can take 2 courses in Spanish and Russian in middle school. All the way through middle school. Once they get to high school, we currently only have 1 Russian offering, but our teacher has put in a couple of proposals for next year. So hopefully students will have 2 courses they can take in Russian. And then they can take 2 courses in Spanish. And it's we have students take language arts plus 1 other course at the secondary level. So that is the program model. I also realized the lines don't align with the amount of time. It's based on how the words fit into the boxes. So we had some people who were like, how come the 60-minute block is so much smaller than the 30-minute block? It's literally just because of the amount of words that are in those boxes. That's why
The 20,
we're not drawn to
like
scale.
on an 80-20, where does that 20, like, is it in the language arts box or is it in the math box? I mean, is there a specific subject that 20?
It's the light blue. So English language development and specials are the 2 for kinder and first grade. So yeah, the light blue is the English, and then the dark blue would be the Spanish. And then the Russian program is the hey, you're probably not the only person who didn't notice it. Took us a long time to notice the boxes were not drawn to scale. Someone pointed out, we were like,
Needed a first grader.
how did no one ever notice that? So the Russian program is very similar in its design, in the amount of allocation. And so some of the courses are a little bit different, like for middle school, for the Spanish side, it's mostly math as the second course. In the Russian program, it's social studies. Again, a lot of it has to do with your staffing abilities at the secondary level. And then our English program, don't really need a graphic for it, but it's all English. And then at the secondary level, students do have that opportunity to take world language, which I heard some of you talking about that at the secondary level, we've got Spanish at 6 to 12, and then Russian and Chinese are available in 9th through 12th grade. We don't actually have 4 years of Chinese at this point. We just don't have enough students who have wanted to take it for 4 years, but we do have 2 years of Chinese. So just to oh, I forgot about this slide. So there were a couple of questions about the seal of biliteracy. So we do have which I've talked about before with you, is the recognitions at 5th and 8th grade, and then the 12th grade seal of biliteracy. And so we're really trying to get students and families excited about the seal of biliteracy or multiliteracy in the lower grades, so that they are continuing to take courses in another language in high school. Or they're really, if it's a language that we don't teach in the district, we really want to encourage families to continue to use that language in the home, so students are becoming proficient in their home language. And so we started these celebrations, I think we've been doing them this will be the 4th year, where we are really talking with students at these lower grades about getting the seal of biliteracy. And we do have more and more students getting it every year. It's really exciting. We've had 7 students get the seal of multiliteracy in our district. We had 1 2 years ago and 6 last year, and we've already had 1 that's met the language requirements for this year. And we have more students who are, still testing and doing all of the things to demonstrate their proficiency. We partner with interpreters when we have students who speak languages that we don't have any staff that can, assess their language. And so we've had students get it in a lot of Mesoamerican languages. We've had students get it in what were some of the languages last year? There was like French or German.
Can they do sign language as well?
Yes, we had some students get it in sign language. Yeah, one of our special ed programs at the high school really works closely with our LPCs if they have any students who do sign, to try to get them to, to go through that process and get it. And so, and it used to be that English had to be one of the languages, but the state changed that. And so now it's just any 2 languages. So it doesn't have to be English. And we did have, last year, let's see here, there were 78 kids in the state who got a seal of multiliteracy, and we had 6 of them. So out of the entire state, that's really exciting. And the first year that they did the seal of multiliteracy, we had 1 of 15 students in the state. So it's really exciting.
We can recognize them at the board meeting. It'd be cool to know who they are.
The multiliteracy. Well, 1 actually got hired recently in the district, and so yeah,
Heidi.
yeah, Katie, yeah.
Kate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could. And then they do, if you've never been, I think I've seen some of you, if not all of you there, if you've never been to the celebration at the high school for the seal of biliteracy and multiliteracy, it's pretty incredible. Like they, it's all like decorated so beautifully, and the kids are so proud, and they, it's a really amazing celebration. So, so I really encourage you to go to that if you haven't been before. It's very,
All the invitations to all those senior events and events.
yeah. So I wanted you to have some time to synthesize your learning, because, you've taken in a lot of information tonight. I know you still have some questions, but I wanted to give you a few minutes to synthesize your learning. And so with your partner that you've been working with, or you can mix it up if you really want to, it's up to you. You're going to select 1 or 2 key takeaways from each person. And then on the back of your paper that has the big L on it, there's a part to synthesize your learning. And so you're going to take kind of 1 or 2 key takeaways from each of you, write a little synthesis of kind of what you learned tonight, what your takeaways are, and then we'll have each group of 2 share that with the larger group. And so go ahead and.
So from anything we learned tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Attention, what time we started.
Okay.
Well, the way that I was set up was for you to put together to create a synthesis, that's fair, but if you wanna write out your own synthesis just, and then we can do it. Not that even matter. It's all the same thing.
We all kind of agree.
So, either.
Yeah, yeah.
Secondary on.
I was on my phone, shared brain.
And. The other takeaway is I think we have. Chinese. Oh. That's pretty. Words. Opportunity to learn, you know, if they, someone knows them,
Sign language.
Spanish, English, and we have that.
And possibly.
They're very good. They're already speaking that.
Yeah.
That's something that.
Expansion of languages and they. Into Chinese. And then. Oh, yeah, and then. English from learning skill. And of course, as we observe how we during the pre-prepared class from them, how much it starts. The engagement in the language of people and how slowly. Yeah, but they're still learning math and science in the preschool. The more 80%. Then it slowly depreciates down to just one team in high school level. Of course, I'll use about the by literacy. Yeah.
All right, take about maybe 20 more seconds, and then we'll do a share out. All right. I should have told you to pick a speaker, who's gonna speak to your partnership, so look at each other, decide who's gonna talk. Whoever points first.
Michael's gonna speak.
All right, Michael, would you like to lead us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that we agreed on was a process to formally exit the dual language program. That's something that we both learned and that's the questions, but you really brought some good points.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of context, we created that process just so that students weren't going to counselors and saying, you know, I don't wanna be in this class, I just wanna. You know, I wanna get out of the program without ever consulting parents, and so.
So what if parent doesn't want them to and student does? I mean, there's the battle, so is that just part of the resolution that you need?
Yeah. Fair enough. So.
Collaborate.
Collaborate.
Yeah, try to come up with a solution that works for the student and the
Yeah.
parent, so.
What if it's on the other opposite scale, that the parents want the students don't? There's also that.
Yeah, I mean, again, we try to like help them come to kind of an agreement about, you know, how they wanna go forward, because, yeah, that does happen where. Student wants to stay in, or parents don't want them to, or vice versa. It's usually the parents want them to stay in, and the student doesn't want to, is kind of a little bit more common, but. But yeah, the principals try to work with them to come up with a. You know, a solution that will work for them. So, okay, who's talking for the two of you?
I will, and it was a little bit different from me on my end, it was more still the requirements, you know, of. Once you're in second grade and onward, that you have to meet certain requirements, whether it's testing or an assessment, I guess. Or having taken dual language before, et cetera. to be able to get in, and then the other one, from Rosie was availability of Chinese. I did know that they did have it, for my daughter. And then, also, from Rosie, I just skipped on the, the 80% and just how it goes down. I talked with my daughter, so I kind of was aware of that and seen saying that, so it's probably also unfair because I'm with the language advisor.
You could come and share your knowledge with the team. So, and I did hear a question about, for the kids coming in after second grade who take the assessment, do you know, when they come in and register, do they know ahead of time, or do they just take it when they come in? Oftentimes, we don't know that students, have been in a dual language program and have an interest in being in a dual language program after second grade, and so they do take the test. They don't typically know that they're going to take it, but if a student, if they wanted to retake it, they could. The reason that we have them take it at the time of registration is so that we know which class to place them in so they can start school as soon as possible. There have been instances where a student did start in an English classroom and then, parents were like, they really do know a lot of Spanish, like we want them to be in dual language, and then they, we've done an assessment after they've been in school and switched classrooms. But we really try to get the student in the right classroom from day one so they don't have to switch.
Not least, before that, I got my oldest enrolled. They did the assessment and everything, so it's just in that one classroom.
Yeah. So, so just to wrap up, this is again the profile of a Woodburn graduate that you have. So if you have any sticky notes that you wrote on throughout this evening, I will collect those and I will add them in. Jamboard has sunsetted, so I'm gonna have to find a new platform to do this on, but I'll figure it out. And then I did also include the one that the Dual Language Advisory Board has done. And so if you want to take a look at this, you can always add something to the profile at a later time. You can send it to me. And then there's your sticky notes. I did put a few resources here for you. Like I mentioned, the Cal Center for Applied Linguistics Guiding Principles is what our program model is based on and what most program models use as their basis. That's what the Dual Language Advisory Board uses. And we're doing a self-evaluation this year using that tool. And then our document that we were looking at tonight, and then I also did link in Dual Language Education in New Mexico. They are looked at as a resource across the country that provides a lot of information and professional development. So I just think that in case you were interested in looking a little bit deeper, there's all sorts of stuff I could have given you access to. I didn't want to overwhelm you with 30 different resources. So I just picked 3. So I'll take your sticky notes if you have any. I don't know if there's time for questions or if you want to just put them into the what you want to know on the KWL.
I think we should just probably
Just
have
have a
our
timeline.
next person here, so. Well, thank you so much for coming and presenting. We learned a lot, or at least I know I learned a lot. Say that. But I'm sure we'll have more questions, so you may be back.
Yeah. I figured with the questions you have, you can work with Superintendent Larios to figure out how you want to get the responses to that. You can do kind of a Q&A document. You guys can decide what you would love. So,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you. Yeah, pretty easy.
Okay, for the second item on our work session, we have board professional development about community engagement. So I'd like to invite Vince Adams from Oregon School Boards Association to present our professional development tonight.
I want to acknowledge the density and work that last bit. You put a lot of great learning. Would the board like to take a break, get up and move a little bit? Oh, I said rest. Yeah, because let's see.
You don't want us to fall asleep on you?
No. I'm only asleep. It's just, you were landing hard. It's good stuff.
Oh, you sure?
I'm gonna get in the Zoom. Are you on Zoom?
Oh, yeah,
You're pitching to Zoom?
I need to send you the link.
You actually have it on your website.
No, because that one's just a viewer. This is a webinar. So we're having technical difficulties.
You want me to?
Yeah.
I can put it on the bumper.
It is easier. Please. We started really late. I don't even know if anybody's watching it now, but.
No.
Ugh.
Fix something that, fix them maybe if you only.
If you don't, I can slide you.
I have like meetings like them. I don't have a month. Like I said. I've got it.
Thanks for that warning ahead of time.
Thank you.
Just kind of- Hold on.
You don't, it's okay. I can, let me add you to my. Okay. I'm gonna. Should be able to.
Do you have a jump air maybe?
I do not.
That's a,
You're like, that's why I didn't do any.
that's a consult fail right there.
Why are there two balls on that table?
They might be expired. Disclaimer. I don't know if candy expires or not. Oh, there we go.
You're emailing that over.
Yes.
Does that mean it doesn't do anything bad to you anymore?
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
There we go.
Well, maybe you can get on there.
You? No.
It's not. Do you have-
Actually, join the meeting and then I think I can move you over. Yeah. Let's try that.
Yeah.
In there.
And. Oh, there is? Oh, there's. Oh, here's ours. Wait, there's coffee?
There's coffee in it, it's not the.
I gotta be up at 4:30. One thing I need to sleep when I get home.
I've never done that before. How about that work?
That's usually how I do it these days.
Oh, okay.
Is that what I'm saying? And then, oh, wait. And then we need to zoom. I need to share.
You definitely need it though, because I caught you yawning.
I was.
I know.
I was falling, I was sleeping.
You were close, sorry, I kicked you under the
Hey,
table, but.
we took her.
So much fun, but getting really tired.
Well,
Like, what, 350 days till Christmas?
I saw something today, I'm like, back in New Year, it's like, wait, it's not even, you need quick, well past the that.
how's things?
Good, how are you?
Flying.
Man,
Was it foggy coming down?
pea soup.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
It said it was supposed to come on at
Yeah.
10 and I was leaving the house saying like, I can't even see in front of me, like.
Yeah, it's pretty much, there's one little spot, and then say it'll broke up a little bit, but it's just fine.
Sun broke out, came through a little bit.
a couple hours of that thing and then fun stuff. Spark it out. Yeah, thermal inversion. We're all sucked in here. Oh. How's it the 13th already?
I know, right?
I mean, it was just at the New Year's party like last night, and it's like, oh, here we are, it's 2 weeks
We're
later.
at a New Year's party all of a sudden.
It felt like.
You're like a
That's what it
couple of
feels like.
weeks late.
That's what it feels like, oh my goodness.
I actually was up, I brought the New Year in this year because my neighborhood was like a war zone.
Oh, wow.
I told my daughter-in-law, I go, what is wrong with these old people?
War zone, you mean like
I look-
fireworks and
I
stuff
look
like
at
that?
Senior and state, and they were just like going on everywhere, you know, like. and all- And I'm just like, what in the heck? This is a quiet neighborhood. My dog stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Does you care? No, no.
Oh my God, it's going crazy.
Oh.
Every time there's a explosion, so I said, oh.
I would just like, looks at me and then just like lays back down, like. Whatever.
Is it, I'm the only one in here, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody's. But let me. Do this.
Well, that's cool. Learning about your dual immersion program. And you're like district-wide dual immersion, right? Yeah. That is awesome.
For pre-K.
But all buildings, yeah.
Oh, yeah, all
the
of
buildings.
those.
Yeah,
Pre-K too?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish we could do.
Also need a Fantasy-Four now, I'm like, ooh,
Oh, yeah, there's others. Good things like that.
I want to, this coffee meets.
If it's out, it's open game.
But I'm gonna still be on camera, I know.
Yeah, kind
No, no.
it's really small. Just try to ignore it. That's what I do. Just don't look at the, don't look at the screen.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's okay. Thank you, though.
So saying, look at you.
Focus here. Face. It is so good to be back. Thank you. The board, one of the things that we talked about, when you were setting, priorities for yourselves, for your own development, one of the big things that came up was community engagement. And so came back, we only have about an hour tonight. So we're just gonna scratch the surface. We're gonna start with some real basics. But fundamentally, take home here, and you'll see the slide that we do this whole thing, so is that boards engage, community engagement really needs to go hand in hand with the district. So that's the take home at this. So it's really in an hour, we're just gonna scratch the surface of this work. But this ongoing, it's an ongoing project that should be a regular part of the board's work throughout the year, interacting with the superintendent and the district team on how you guys are gonna be out and engaging and being that complement to their work. So let's dive in. Okay, so this is a priority for you. So, okay, so why is community engagement important for the school district?
So you understand the depth of what. You know, like.
Safe space.
Um. So we have like a engagement and awareness of what, our community. Not expects from us, but hopes to obtain from us.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you say us, who do you mean by that? The board?
board. Minister.
District two?
Yeah,
District two, yeah.
superintendent as well.
Because you guys are that interface between the district and the public. You were elected to represent the community, so you are that interface. So community engagement is really important in that respect. Wait, what else? There are no right or wrong, I'm not, I just want to get you.
And the community needs, getting a sense of that assessment and making sure that it's lining up with whether it's policies or any gaps potentially that might become servicing and just direction overall that we want to be able to provide the district. I've taken into account. Again, needs, gaps, et cetera, that we're noticing as far as the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else coming?
Well, because they need to be in the know, I mean, like, we need to engage with them so that they know what's going on in the district, because really their kids are going to this district. They're paying taxes to this district, so, I'm in Kiwanis, they always want to know, like, what's going on in the district, so it's really important that, that we're out there letting them know, and that Juan is out there.
Sure, let's dig into this. Okay, I'm sure I have answers to this. Yeah, for the, and really where you guys, I just changed the writing on the other side is. You've really been focusing on in this space, really about accountability. I mean, that's one piece, from being that interface and holding the district accountable. Having our community hold us accountable for getting the work done. It's about constituent service and bringing them in and making sure that folks are getting what they need. And then this idea of continuous improvement. And that's where the term engagement becomes more important. Because when we say engagement, is communication engagement?
No,
Well, no.
communication is more one direction versus engagement is a two-way.
Yeah, thank you for, I think this is my next one. Oh, I have to set this up because, are you guys familiar with this acronym, FATE? So this is
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, the educators in the room for sure know this because it's the law. So in the United States, we have this legal concept that we ensure the free access to public education. Everybody gets access to public education. This is a really important concept, and it has ramifications for community engagement because for public ed, we provide universal access. We don't get to turn away a kid. If a kid comes to our doors, we open them up and we bring them in. We don't get to turn folks away.
What if we have a closed enrollment? Because there's already too many kids.
Oh, you mean like transfers and things like that?
Yeah. Or are you referring it to in a different version when you say?
I'm talking about kids in your district.
Oh, in district, sorry.
In your district. Yeah,
It's again the-
you're never full. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're always gonna take kids in your district. But is that really how it works? Because we do have limits. There are limits to our capacity. That schools are a public institution, that they're constrained by laws and capacity. And then we start thinking about the construct of this room. Now, this is a pretty welcoming room, but I mean, the way we set up our boardrooms, where we ask our people, you guys are sitting in a nice circle, shoulder to shoulder, and you ask one lone parent to come up here and engage with you. So is that an engaging, environment? So there's all these organizational constructs that create barriers to engagement. There's lots of them, just by the very nature of the way we construct our public entities. There's a lot, it's hard, and for some folks, it's not that big of a deal. You've had people come up here and feel comfortable stepping up to this podium. But I guarantee you there's a bunch that don't. They can't even get here. And we don't get to hear them. And that's where I'm talking about socioeconomic language barriers, which breeds mistrust. And this is the tension that we feel around community engagement. I have not encountered a school board, really any public entity, city councils, county commissions, that feel that they're just hitting it out of the park on community engagement. Everybody struggles with that because of the way we structure our public institutions. So understand that is a barrier that you're trying to surmount because we have this tension, we have this expectation, this mission that we give ourselves that we're legally responsible for, and then socially we're expected. And I think in our heart of hearts, we do want to reach each and every kid, right? But we have institutions that don't do that. So you just need to understand that concept, that this paradox that we're struggling with. I'm gonna start talking about special interests because they're all over the place. Most of the people you hear from usually are gonna be our special interests. They're usually represented at three. I'm not talking about parents that are advocating for their kiddo. I mean, that is kind of a special interest, but it's not in the sense that I'm talking about. Parents we always want to advocate for the kiddo. These are people advocating in groups. So we live in this, and I think I've shared this concept with the board previously, this idea of role orientation, the delegate versus the trustee. So on one side, I know you're familiar with this, that we're a delegate. We were elected by the public to represent their interests, to set those expectations on the district so that they do what we want them to do, right? What am I missing? Yeah. So free and feel responsible to the constituency. Certainly when I was first elected to the school board, I was elected by a constituency that they wanted me to do things, right? You know, and that breeds kind of this climate that we're in right now, where open debate and conflict in the boardroom is acceptable and good. And then we see that in new board members coming onto boards. They vote based on positions, political positions. I'm pro cell phone ban, or I'm anti cell phone ban, or pick your position. There's a bunch of different issues. And it leads to factionalization on unstable governance. So we see factionalization on school boards, where you get a voting block around a particular issue and they band together. Okay, so this is our delegate role. And you're probably feeling that you always feel this from, to certain degrees. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little. Then we have our other side, our trustee role. And this is our responsibility to kids. Delegate is responsibility outside to our constituencies. Trustee is our role, our responsibility to who we serve, and that's our kiddos. So feel they represent the general interests of kids, feel responsible for the district's best interests. It's kind of a stewardship ethic. Does not favor open debate, values board unity, vote based on what they believe is best for all, can appear dismissive of public concerns, can seem insular. I'm not going to listen to the specialist people coming to the podium because I know from my educators what we need to do for our kids. So this is a true and a legitimate role orientation as well. And both of these are in play all the time. You're pulled in both directions. You've heard me say it, do what's right for kids, right? Put it on the back of your nameplate. But on the other side, you're responsible to the people who elected you. And you have to find the balance in that. So the research tells us that boards that tend to hew under normal circumstances, under normal, calm operations, hew about 70% to their trustee role, tend to get better student outcomes. You never are able to give either of these up entirely. You're always going to be moving back and forth between these. In times of crisis, when this room is full of people who are frustrated, you're going to shift over to your delegate role. You're going to move over here and be receptive and listening to community. You just spent the last hour over here in your trustee role, really focusing on the needs of your kids and why DI is so important for your district, especially. Okay? Questions about that? Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Do you feel that tension? So and it never goes away. It doesn't get better, but the waves will always come, but you can learn to surf. Okay. So you can learn to move back and forth on this spectrum, and you should be conscious of it. Where am I at in my role orientation? Where does the board need to be right now in our role orientation? Okay. What did I put next? Oh, Just a restatement of that slide. Wonderful. Let's go. Okay, so how does that apply to special interests? Well, special interests want you to be in your delegate role. They pull you in that direction, pulling toward that pull. So how do we navigate this? And this is what this slide is all about. I wish that text was bigger. So, so it's okay, I'll just read the slide. So, I mean, special interests, the first thing that we need to know when we're navigating special interests is that we need to stay focused on our strategic priorities. So your district has a well-crafted set of strategic priorities. You have a vision where you want to go. I think you're in broad agreement on those. And it was crafted collaboratively between the board and district staff to create those, you know, and if we achieve those things, you will move the needle for your kids, right? So when special interests start pulling on you, when you start feeling that delegate role pulling at you, to resist it or to navigate it. Again, we're learning how to surf the waves, right? Focus on your strategic priorities, okay? I already said this, continually monitor role orientation. So both individually and as a board, depending on the situation that you're in. We already talked about that. And then be consistent how the board integrates public input. You know, use plan, you know, have a plan for how you're going to do that. Use specific criteria and follow your policies. Crucially important, two things, important in two respects. One, it keeps your practice consistent, so there aren't any surprises, you know, within the board or being, you know, on the leadership team, so that the board isn't doing something that surprises staff and board members aren't doing things that are surprising each other. Okay, so we want to be consistent in how we do our engagement practices. Also, you're consistent with community. So if you are consistent in the way you behave and take input, then community knows how to reach out to you and engage with you. When you're not consistent, then they can become confused. So when they come to one meeting, you're doing one particular way. And then if the next meeting that practice changes, there's going to be confusion. And if it changes again, or you flip back, you can see how that breaks trust with public. So it's important to be consistent. It's better to have mediocre practices that are consistent than to have, you know, practices that are changing all the time. Last piece here is navigating special interests is when you're hearing from folks, ask yourself the question, who am I not hearing? So who is not heard in this space? Really important. So listen to the silent spaces. Okay. And then this is back to that idea of do what's right for kids. Does this advocacy, you know, serve a narrow group or all kids? Now, it may be appropriate to serve a narrow group of kids. Maybe those kids are underserved. But if you're queuing to your strategic priorities, you'll know that. You'll be aware of it. And so that advocacy will line up with your strategic priorities. So if your SPED kids are lagging or not getting what they need, and you're hearing from SPED parents, when those things line up, it might be a time when you want to give that some attention. All that lining up, okay? How about that? So what? What would effective community engagement? How would we tell if our community engagement was effective?
One way would be in the kind of public comments received.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, if we were doing effective community engagement, people would feel heard and not have the need to come and actually state something during public comment because they have already shared that and know that we've received it, taken it in, and I'm feeling heard.
Yeah, I love that. Because community engagement is not really effective. It's not great. So if I as a parent can come to a board member or come, engage the board in a different way that's more effective. Why am I gonna take the risk to come to the podium? And I can be more effective in another way. So that's a really cool perspective. How else would we know? I don't have any set answers here.
When they come to public comment, it's not venting, it's more, show of appreciation, a success, gratification. Versus, you don't do nothing, you don't listen to us, you don't hear us. You're there for yourself, your own agenda, kind of concept,
Yeah, or maybe it's just not escalated.
right?
It's actually a comment. It's not they're not speaking out in anger.
I guess too, when you get in the newspaper. And it's a positive thing instead.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times we're in, you get in for negative things, but lately, like we've had a lot of positive things when we have something in there. So that makes you think that like what we're doing is, is appreciated because we're not getting hammered.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what the next slide is. See, this is the thing, we build these slide decks. I built the slide deck out last week. And now I've completely forgotten what's in it. So let's discover what the next slide is. Oh, right. Because we always go back to balanced governance. Well, we have a standard for this. Yeah. So standard 2 is community engagement, because community engagement is definitely a key role of the board. I mean, you guys know this. So yeah, the board recognizes that all members of the community are partners in the success of their schools. The board engages the community using a reciprocal advocacy process that creates and sustains meaningful conversations, system connections, and feedback loops across the breadth of the community. The board supports collaborative partnerships and new types and levels of community participation in schools. Okay, so this was written by an academic. His name is Tom. Tom is a wonderful guy. He's very smart. But he doesn't write good standard language. That is hard to understand. In particular, love Tom. He's really great. I mean, come on, what is a reciprocal advocacy process? I mean, along with all the other gobbledygook that's in that. But I mean, so let's unpack this. And you already talked about this a little bit. So let's unpack this a little bit. So reciprocal advocacy process really is just this idea of, we're co-creating learning, right? That board district is reaching out to community and community is reaching out to us, and that we're building shared understanding. Okay, what's the next piece? I used to work at Oregon State University in the extension service, and that organization takes engagement very, very seriously. This is how they define it. Community engagement at Oregon State University is a collaboration that benefits the OSU and its partners and generates co-created knowledge and impact. That we're working together to do this work. Or to build the change that you have on the wall. So that's what Tom means when he's saying reciprocal advocacy, whatever that was. Confusing process. So yeah, board and district, you're integrating input, you're having meaningful conversations. Is public comment a meaningful conversation?
No.
Systematic connections. Do you have example? Can you think of? Don't answer. Systematic. Can you cite any systematic connections that you have with community, that the district has with community, that you're aware of?
From the promise company? Or you have something like a newsletter, something, the communication, Facebook.
But is communication?
It's not,
It's not engagement.
It's not engagement, but it's communication.
No, what's engagement?
Referring to like at all levels, but for example, there's a parent club with my middle school student. There's also the site council meetings where you
Yep.
have parents, members,
Yes.
things like that.
What else
Um,
that you're aware of?
Advisory committees where there's not only teachers, I don't think there's students, but there's definitely parent also representation, or if they can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have the PAC, where they're coming in, their advisory committee of that.
Yeah, that we're systematizing this, that we're creating, standing up groups that are sharing perspective into the district. And then district is sharing information out, or it's coming with hard questions. What do we do with this? Help us think through this. So those are those systematic connections. Feedback loops, it's kind of the same thing. Where we're sharing information out, we're ensuring that we're getting information back. And cultivating trust through transparency. What I heard you saying is that this year you're starting to get some positive feedback, that you're getting through a feedback loops, like the fourth estate, which through the news, you're building trust through transparency. Okay. So you're starting to build or strengthening this relationship already. Okay. I do want to highlight that we're focusing around what the board can do. And I want to draw a distinction when we think about community engagement, draw a distinction between the board and the district because the jobs are different. And your district is already hard at work, and that's the point of this slide. This is just a few things that they're doing. There's many things that they're statutorily required to engage community on. Okay, so integrated guidance is one of them. Has anybody heard that term before? Superintendent, we get
Integrated plan.
Integrated plan, is that the same?
Integrated plus.
Thank you, that's what. Yeah.
so integrated guidance. Would you give them a quick snapshot of what integrated guidance is?
Well, we've seen this it's come to the board a couple of different times now. It came I think back in November and we presented the graduate gradient. That was, what we come to, agreement with the state of Oregon on how we are using our integrated plan funds to meet our functional performance growth targets. So it takes into account multiple different plans that just live in isolation, and now wraps it all around with this one integrated guidance document plan that we utilize to move forward for our goals.
They took 6 separate programs that have reporting and they streamlined the reporting is what they did. And then, but one of the requirements is it's community engaged. They have to go out and get input and then create goals and then report.
We have a website where the plan was we adopted last year. And so the following feedback that was collected last year, the website is still there, surveys that were utilized, the listening sessions, focus groups that were completed last year, provided feedback on the revision of the plan.
It's really good work. For districts, for district teams that haven't done strategic planning, integrated guidance is a great place to start that work. Because they go a long way in planning what is really matters for doing improvement for kids, and it's community engaged. So they've already gone out and got input from the community. Paul, what EFA, local wellness? Oh, these are policies. So policy in EFA is related to that. They're required to get input on wellness, drug, alcohol, and tobacco prevention. That requires it. Human sexuality, that requires community engagement. And then, yeah, Title I. Lots of things that your district is already doing. And if you want to know about those things, you can ask about that. You can ask in those programs, what type of engagement, what are the stories that we're getting out of that? Your superintendent can share those themes because they're already processing that for doing their own program planning. So you can walk along with them and you'll get really good, rich information. So you can tag along with their community engagement, and you're doing community engagement, right? But there's more. So where might the board find itself in community engagement? So I love this one. Yeah, transformational. You guys have done policy adoptions, yes? Can you,
Yes.
lots of them, were they exciting? No?
I think some of them are, I mean, like,
The cell phone one.
the cell phone was really exciting, and. That big bunch we have that all.
I'm trying to think of what was exciting about batch.
Yeah. So, the cell phone one? What? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, so. You really, there are two types of policy adoptions. There are routine ones, those ones that we do to maintain compliance with the law. They don't fundamentally change the way we serve kids, but they're important. We want to be compliant with the law. And then we have transformational policy development. Now, you probably did some community engagement around the cell phone ban policy. At the very least, you had people giving you comment probably, I guess.
No
No public comment about that. Yeah, but not anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, students are very happy with that, with it, but
Honestly, the thing that was exciting about that, I mean, is when we went to OSBA and they were talking about giving examples of when people tried to do it. The ban wasn't in place, but they implemented it without the ban, it was like, we do it, and the change that they saw. And so when we implemented it and we went first day of school, what was exciting is seeing the kids so engaged, because they weren't down here, they were actually looking at their teachers, and then when they were in the line for lunch and things like that, or going between classes, they were actually talking to each other. So that made that really exciting. And honestly, I mean, I think we expected more of a pushback, but like I said, I got one email from a student. But really, they don't seem to.
Great. So in these, when you're adopting policies that make big changes in how we serve kids, oftentimes you're gonna find yourself doing some community engagement. And we'll get into the nuts and some specific examples of how you do that towards the end, but that's one place. And policy is one of the key jobs of the board. So when you're doing these big policy lifts, that's a time when you want to reach out to community and get input. Okay, strategic planning. So when you refresh this,
Which we will be doing this year.
okay,
Launching, in the next couple of months. And doing a refresh on our strategic plan.
yeah, so that's going to need to be community engaged. So let's see, what else? Superintendent recruitment, hopefully you don't have to do that anytime soon. But it is something that we do see quite a bit of community engagement. Your budget process, and I'm gonna editorialize here a little bit. I'll take off my OSBA hat and just talk as a former school board member. You know, the budget process in Oregon is pretty frustrating. It's because the revenue side of it is really locked in. And so it's really hard and it all seems to wrap up in the spring, after our superintendent and district staff have gone to the work of baking and creating this budget document. Wouldn't it be nice if in like October, we did some community engagement? I know that ship has already sailed, but next year, wouldn't it be great if we did a little bit of community engagement in October to get some input? I've actually worked with my own district. We tried that out and it did have some impact. It was great. We made some key budgetary shifts based on input that we received, mostly from staff. It was hard to get community to be involved, but our staff engaged with this. And staff are part of your community as well. So I would submit, think about community engagement in the budget process. I'll put my OSBA hat on. Yeah, if you're going out for a bond, oh boy. Lots of it. You're gonna hire consultants to do your engagement. What if you do that? You get the big folks in to do focus groups and all sorts of things around your bond. So I don't know. Where are you guys at in your long range facilities planning?
I'd love to see us start having a conversation about bond with 2028.
Oh, wow, so you're not that far off.
We haven't spoken yet, but
Sorry, that's very was. So this, yeah. Lots of community engagement, a lot of district community engagement, a lot of board community engagement. And then when you shift into the pack, there's even more. So when you get it on the ballot, you're campaigning for it. So this is a big lift, lots of talking. Ooh, duck and cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is school boundary changes are always really tough. Because you're moving a kid from their neighborhood school and. So start early, give yourself lots of runway of community engagement. When we say runway, we mean that's time having conversations with families, really important. And any other controversial issues. Oh, I don't even know what the next controversial issue is going to be.
so doesn't come out of left field oftentimes.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what it is.
Really, of all of those, like, since you said that about the capital bond, like thinking of 2028. So I think that, like, just having that in the back of our minds, that makes it more important that what we do now with community engagement is with that kind of in mind. And that we have, I mean, that the community has a really good feeling about us and like that, and we're very transparent in everything that we do in order to get something like that, so. Sure.
I'm going to share a very simple, elegant, and powerful tool with you tonight. That will help you all the way through 2021. Okay, okay. So just key things to think about. It's important that the board act collectively. That we have a unified board voice. When we have differing voices on the board, that creates noise and dissonance. So public doesn't know what's the message that I should be receiving. So it's important that when you're doing that, using a tool, we'll get to this tool, but this is a really powerful tool for getting you all on the same page. But board acts collectively. Oh, yeah. So what is not community engagement? One-on-one discussions. And notice that I'm citing policy on this. Good job, Vince. So when you're going out meeting with constituents, like I go out and get coffee with the constituents, is that community engagement?
Yep.
Well, is that whole board?
No.
I would say it's not whole board. That's me doing constituent service. I wouldn't count it as community engagement. Now, will it have ripple effects? Could it be aligned to community engagement? But if it's part of a whole board effort, meeting one-on-one with people, then maybe I would throw it into community engagement. But if it's just me doing my own thing, talking about something that I care about, no. Handling complaints individually. Constituent service. That's important. Working in your ombudsman capacity to guide people through the complaint process, that's fine. It's important. It's one of your roles. It's not community engagement. Public comment is not community engagement. I get in trouble for saying this. I submit it's not. You're not supposed to engage. It's not a reciprocal engagement process. It's really frustrating. It's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for them. I wish we'd get rid of it. Well, no. It's really awkward. It's not really productive. It really only serves the board. It's information flowing one way, and that's to you. Okay, so public comment is not community engagement. Ooh. Hopefully no one's doing this. My colleagues, people on my own board are doing this right now. Grandstanding in social media. So going onto social media and putting that big long statement or a video, that's the cool thing. Get on TikTok and do a TikTok and opine how I feel about whatever. That is not. That's one board member expressing their opinion. It's not part of a holistic, board effort to engage the community. It's also not reciprocal. It's just communication. And it's just communicating how I feel. It's not about me. It's about all our kids and their families, right? Let's see. Oh, making personal promises. That kind of goes with this meeting one-on-one discussions. Yeah, we can't promise what the board's gonna do or what the district's gonna do.
It's not in our ability,
No. At all.
yeah.
But man, it shows up. It does happen. Yeah, don't write checks you can't cash, okay? So likely. Likely. Let's see, do I have any more? Oh, holding informal listening sessions. This is the one where someone invites you into their home and they get a bunch of their friends together and you listen. Is that community engagement?
It's a private town hall meeting.
Again, it's not coordinated with your colleagues. I know I've said this before to this board. Never go alone, go together. So if you're gonna do things like that, make sure that you're coordinated in the way that you do it. I'm not saying that having those living room conversations can't be effective, they can be, but it needs to be part of a coordinated effort that's coordinated between board members and between the board and the district staff. So that
There's a purpose.
yeah, there's a purpose.
But the moment that happens, and it's more than two of us, is automatically a meeting, public forum.
Right, if you get three of you, then you have a quorum and then you have a public meeting and don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, yeah, better to just take that discussion into the public meeting.
No private town halls.
Don't do private town halls. Now, if you're campaigning, that's a different thing, but that's politics. But you're kind of moving into the political space when you're doing this. Which, I mean, we're politicians, so we get drawn that way. See, staff, they don't get drawn that way because they're just not politicians. But we can't. Okay. So what is community? Okay. Board acts collectively, so we're going together. Set clear board strategies. So what is it that you want to do? Maybe it is doing those private town halls with great caution. Don't do that. Do something else. Have a public forum with the League of Women Voters. That's a great thing. That's very neutral. It should be integrated with the district plan. So this is really important that you're checking in with your superintendent. The superintendent should not be surprised when board members are speaking publicly. They should know ahead of time that you're going to be out there. Or even better, you're showing up with the superintendent. And that's really powerful because he has all the technical knowledge and you can say things that he can't. Okay? You can advocate more than he can. So it's really powerful when you have a board member or board members and the superintendent showing up in public and speaking for Rotary or whoever, whatever community group. Align to district priorities. I'll harp on it over and over again. This is your North Star. Hew to it. Stick to that. So I'm going back to that same concept. Sometimes as an individual member, but never alone. So your colleagues know where you're going and what you're doing and what you're talking about. And you guys have agreed on what your message to the community will be. So, yeah, context. So rural versus urban, you guys are definitely an urban district. So distance and time, people coming to you. Diversity is definitely a factor for you guys. I mean, you have folks that are linguistically isolated, some folks that may not be, particularly right now, may not feel comfortable showing up on a public space. I mean, goodness, culture matters. Okay, demographics fits into this as well. Yeah, local issues, politics, history. What's happened in the past. This board has recently had some bumpy interactions with the community. So you've got some history going on here that you're trying to overcome. So just being mindful of these factors as we go out for community engagement, keeping context in mind. And that maybe people in certain contexts might not want to hear us that way.
Put on some steel shoe.
Steel shield, what?
Kidding. I'm just trying to keep myself awake, so.
Yeah. Okay, so community engagement tools that include the board. So first one is the community engagement worksheet. Finally, we get to the fun part. So this is a super powerful tool. I wish I could say I came up with it, but my former colleague Steve Kelly came up with it. We use something kind of like this. Okay, so in the instructions on the back, these are yours to keep. And I urge you you can have both of those. I urge you to build this into your regular practice, meeting practice. Your district is doing all sorts of good things. And it's probably not too hard to come up with 3 to 5 talking points on any given meeting. So at the end of every meeting, think of 3 to 5 talking points, things that you want to share in community. And then each of you make a commitment on where you're going to go share that. Maybe it's when you go to church, maybe it's when you go to that community group, maybe it's at soccer practice, maybe it's wherever, I don't care where.
When you say church, our church, well, my church is outside of district. And that engages Silverton, Canby, Salem, Malala,
So maybe that's something.
surrounded by outsiders.
Yeah, I don't know, so go brag on your district, but you get the point, wherever it is where you're engaging with community, because I know you're going places and talking to people. Have these talking points that you want to share. So, I mean, I don't know, what's the last piece of data? Oh, wait, you just went through a DI thing. That's one talking point. You can probably get 2 or 3 right out of that. Really cool things that are going on with your DI program right now. So you could write those and then commit to what you're gonna do. And then you give yourself a deadline and notice at the bottom, we commit that we're gonna do this by this date. And then when you come back and do this, you report on what you shared, what you heard. And then you do your next set of talking points and you go back out. And it becomes a rhythmic process. When you're doing strategic planning, you're gonna write talking points on your strategic planning process and share that out with the community. And this becomes part of the natural work that you do.
So should we get a soapbox and go to the next city council meeting?
Sure.
Actually, nice way to close that board report.
I was gonna say, it sounds a little closer with what when we refer and have a section mission.
And we'll obviously keep saying common talking points and whatever context that we're in, we're sharing that and then reporting on that. So this cycle.
You guys go to PTA, PTO.
We don't have a formal, just a couple of schools have the PTA, but each of the schools have a parent club. They're not all associated with
Yeah.
national organization, but they all have parent clubs and site councils.
Yeah,
We have one at Ballard tomorrow.
so,
Did you chance?
so those are prime spots for sharing talking points like this. We can get up and just take 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe. Talk about what's awesome going on with the board and at the district office.
Should I bring some bow and arrows?
No, because you're gonna talk about just positive stuff.
happening.
You're gonna talk about just good stuff.
I'm kidding.
Or maybe, and not necessarily good stuff. If challenges are, we're not gonna candy coat everything. If there are real challenges, then we wanna advocate on those. This will develop your advocacy chops. Because we have a short session coming up. And right after that is the long session. And right after that short session, that's when you should be doing advocacy with our legislators in prep for the long session. So this will warm you up for that. So it's not just engaging community, it's preparing you for advocacy. you will be much more honed and ready to message. So I really, really urge you to take up this practice. It's valuable.
Get something that's like a budget committee or something. I was gonna say that's.
Working on that.
Okay. Promoting the vacancy by the budget committee.
Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I
Definitely a
think
talking
that one
point.
has to be on the.
We can start promoting to get the word out that we need someone in the
Oh.
applicants once.
But they have to agree to be on the equity. Because we have to have somebody from that, I thought we had to have somebody from that committee that is a community member.
You have to, somebody from that committee, but if you don't have anybody in that committee, it could be,
Can it be anybody then?
So the reason why I love this,
Yes.
I love this because elaborate community engagement efforts are hard to maintain. This is simple and easy and rhythmic. It's something you can do, and it aligns with everything here. It's the board acting collectively. You're going to identify together what your talking points are. You're setting, it's a clear strategy. It's integrated with the district plan. It's your board work with the district, right? It's going to be aligned to district priorities because your agenda should be aligned to your district priorities. And you're going to be showing up as individual members, but you're not alone. It's really powerful. Good stuff. Okay. CE worksheet. What else, Vince? Oh, here it is. So share the information, you get the idea. The instructions are on the back. Good enough. Let's keep going. What else? Oh, improved better public comment. Yeah, that's reflective, not reactive. This is a little controversial, but I think it's useful. So, public comment. I just said public comment is not community engagement, but we can reform a public comment to make it more and make it better. So this really works well when you're way over in your delegate role and community's fired up and you have something controversial brewing. This is a really good technique to put into play. So the first thing that you do if say you're having hearing, or you can do it with public comment, but if you hold like a special meeting just to take public comment, it's gotten that hot. You can use this technique. First, you get a report from staff. On whatever that controversial topic is, because a lot of times people bring public comment that's based out of, they just don't know. Misapprehensions about that topic. And so they're sharing things that may not be very useful to you because they're inaccurate. If you get a report from staff, it helps clear out those misunderstandings. So the quality of your comment goes up. You get better information out of your people, okay? So get a report from staff on the hot topics. Then go ahead and take public comment like you do your normal procedure. And they're going to step up here. They're going to say things you're not going to say. You're going to look at them and say thank you when they're done. And that's it. It's really uncomfortable. Here's the special sauce. At the end of the public comment, when everybody's done, the board briefly reflects on what was heard. You synthesize the themes right in the meeting. And what this does is it communicates to the folks that gave comment that you heard them. What did I say? What I heard is that this reduction in force is going to disproportionately affect our libraries, and that's going to really have a negative impact on our district. I'm not going to opine. I'm not going to share my opinion about that. I'm sorry. I was just using an example there. I don't know if you're closing libraries. Please don't.
No,
We're not closing libraries. Sorry.
Our policy doesn't allow us to comment back, so we would have to change our policy.
No,
Like to
no,
We're not
send
commenting.
I mean, like even to comment about,
But
to have
is this,
discussion about it.
this idea is actually setting like a separate meeting, not our own meeting.
It's at the end of public comment. Public comment
so it's-
closes. It closes. We're done. We're not going to take any more comment. What did we hear from? And you've probably done this.
We have, but it was not,
So
Didn't go that way.
yes.
So often how this shows up is you have public comment at the beginning, more towards the beginning of the agenda, and they have board member comments at the end of the agenda. And it's at the end of the night, everybody's left, and then the board goes, wow, man, we heard a lot about the libraries tonight. Phew, yeah, that was a lot. And the folks that came and talked about that never get the benefit of you realizing that you actually heard and cared about what they had to say. So what you're doing is you're closing public comment. You're not reacting. You're just saying, this is what I heard. I'm not sharing my opinion about that. But what I heard is closing libraries will do this. It takes some skill.
I was gonna say, it's gonna take some practice.
It takes some skill as a public official in the way you speak. So you have to be measured in the way you speak. And if you don't feel comfortable, you could just say, hey, we've heard a lot about libraries. Just be careful. Don't throw your district staff under the, don't throw your superintendent under the bus. Okay? Takes a little bit of skill, but this can help.
Yeah, because currently what we do is they do the comment and then we talk about it at our Friday meeting. And then we figure out a way that we can either bring something to another meeting that addresses that comment or how we're going to respond to that through email or some kind of something. So at least, because that was one of the things with our policies, we kind of felt like they talk and then there's just like, it's not going anywhere. So that there should be some kind of response to it.
Yeah. I'll share another practice that's related to this from Park Rosenthal. Sometimes you get complaints. And of course you pivot, so you turn to the superintendent and say, hey, if someone says, I'm upset about such and such and such and such, and then you turn to the superintendent and say, can you follow up on that? And of course, the superintendent says, yes, of course. Okay.
Right then and there.
Yeah. The chair can do that. Yeah, if it's operational in nature. Yeah, my kid couldn't get on the school bus, they left him behind. Man, no, I can't do that. I had to go to work, or I had a fever or whatever, you get those types of comments. And it's like, whoa, system failed. That's operational. That's not school board work. Chair hands that off to the superintendent and the superintendent follows up.
You have to respond in that moment and say,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. No.
Follow up on.
No, not in the moment.
Outside of the work.
So what they do at Park Roast, and I forget who the superintendent's name is. But they, at the next meeting, they say, board heard from a parent that their child got left behind, the school bus left them behind. I wanted to let the board know that I followed up with that. We addressed that with the bus attendant. Closing the loop. Really cool practice. Okay, I'm sorry, I filibustered you.
One, actually, with this last example, what I do like is that, for example, I know that they're working on it, but sometimes I don't know if unless something else ends up coming up, so I kind of like that idea
Yeah.
too. The reason I was what I was gonna say with that example that's up there is, again, while, yes, there's follow-up, and I know, and I had agreed with, the structure we have right now in being able to do those follow-ups, was again, trying to close the loop, but what I like about this one is that more than just the person that gave the comment feel that they're being listened to and heard, basically, and so it helps create a broader sense of trust and transparency for like the overall audience community versus just like the individual and whoever it is they decide to share to and what it is that they decide to share.
Yeah, I like the second way. I like the way Park Rose does it.
Yeah.
Because I think the other way, I think you would have to be so careful because it would become a discussion and, instead of just, it would have to be a lot of practice on how to address, something.
In chair coaching, you just gotta remember, what themes do we hear? And I wanna remind members that we're not giving our opinions or analysis of this, but what themes came up for you?
Practicing so.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
but not everybody does.
Or take it up at a later time,
Yeah.
but if the community can detect that you're actually processing stuff that you're bringing to them, that's gonna build trust. Okay, other ideas. So this is kind of the what can we do? And we're not gonna go into any detail on these, but so hearings, we just talked about that scenario. You can hold a public hearing on something and get comment. And draw that comment in. Charrette. What the heck? What's a charrette? Charrette, it actually comes from the architecture field. Charrette is a French for wagon. I don't know why. And basically it's a process. It's a process where you are asking community to help you answer a question. Like, what improvements do we need to make at our elementary schools? That's the question. That could be a question that you could propose. And it's small group, which you usually put a board member at each table. And then you have 7 other people at the table and you work that problem. And then at the end, you take all the input, roll it up together, and you get lots of great input. Great tool. And it's deeply engaged. It's conversational. It's a lot of fun, actually. Really powerful. Charrettes are awesome. When you do bond work, the architects will bring this technique. That's where I learned it. Was when we did a bond process in Corvallis. So charrettes, not to be confused with charades. It's a completely different thing. Equally fun, but not the same. Surveys, obviously. But I mean, they work. We do get good information, I guess. Yeah, surveys. Your staff are skilled at deploying surveys. They do it a lot. Focus groups. So focus group is kind of like a charrette, only it's not around a one question where you're collaborating on, it's asking a series of questions and getting input. So again, about 8 people involved and you ask them questions. Often focus groups are best done by staff. As board members, we might want to sit and observe that. We don't want to really talk or engage with that. Just want to listen and have your madly typing notes.
So if you did the charrette and you had a board, I mean, like you had all your board members, that would have to be announced as a public meeting, correct?
Yeah, probably. That's the safe way to do it. Yeah. Because you're collecting information
Yeah.
towards a decision.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm most VA, so I'm gonna always give you the most risk averse answer. Yes. Notice it, you'll just be safe. Better than getting an OGDC complaint.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
The suggestion on the other slide about, get it like summarizing themes at the end, were you referring that to only as if the board were to have a hearing, or are boards doing that with public comment?
There are some boards doing that with their public comment reflexively.
That's
They
interesting.
just do it as that scenario where they take public comment at the beginning so everybody can get their comment and then go home and get dinner. And then at the end of the meeting, then they're
Oh.
processing the public comment.
Some people are doing public comment, I think.
Some do.
Yeah.
That's cruel.
West Limos will do
9
it 3
o'clock at
times,
night.
3 times in their meeting.
Blue-eyed parents and staff trying to give public comment.
We've had hearings, it's been a long time since our board has had a hearing. And it was mainly really to let people feel heard.
Yeah.
At the time, like the last one that I can recall, it was around safety threats or threats
Yeah.
that were happening and people were feeling very uneasy, and it kind of happened back to back. So then the board at the time decided to have a hearing and people came and told them, and there was some response from mainly the superintendent. And a lot of it was, it was interesting because it was safety and potentially money needed to be invested. It kind of fell back on the board.
Mhm.
People, I think it was around shooting threats.
Yeah.
And parents wanted guarantees, and that was, unless we put bulletproof windows, which is an investment that the board would need to make. So even hearings are interesting.
Believe it, that hearing, I would say last year too, with the resolution.
Yeah, we called it public comment, though. We didn't call it
That's what-
necessarily a hearing.
I mean,
It wasn't a hearing.
you have hearings like in the budget process, you have to open a hearing.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. I had a thought. Austin. Sorry, I'm fatigued too. School ambassadors, oh, this is, yeah, so this is, if you assign yourselves schools, I don't know, so like your parent clubs. Like you assign yourselves parent clubs and you go to those meetings specifically. Some boards do that. Or they assign themselves to a variety of groups. You're going to this one, you're going to council, you're going, so. You can do that, so being ambassadors, again, using your. CE worksheet as a backbone for that, then you just sign up for meetings and off you go. So school ambassadors is another way to do that. Avoid town halls. Okay, so what's the difference between a public hearing and a town hall?
And maybe that's what we.
That's what it was,
Uh-huh.
it was a town hall, the safety thing was a town hall.
Well, what's the difference?
So a public hearing is public comment. There are rules and structure. A town hall, you've seen them. That's when you stand in a crowd and allow them to ask you pop questions. Never, ever.
That wasn't a talk.
I actually turned into one.
Didn't we go to that one, Jenny, with, the county commissioner and the sheriff? and
Yeah, that was
the
a-
Mary was there.
That was like a public town hall.
Yeah, at Chemeketa, they were like at a table, and it wasn't a large trip, it wasn't small, but like we asked them questions and there was engagement and. They weren't standing, we weren't surrounding them and tossing darts at them. They were providing information on what they've improved in the community and the engagement and the connection that they have between the sheriff and the county commissioner and the mayor. So, what program they're working on, which is an improvement for the community.
Yeah. It's a high risk environment. You don't know the questions that are coming. You may not have an answer. It's tough, it's a tough situation. If your community is planning a town hall style inquiry, sorry, event, get someone to moderate it and have them get the questions on a 3x5 card and get them to filter it. So that, because who knows gonna ask, there will be inappropriate questions, unnecessary ones that aren't questions, they're just saying something and 5 minutes later, it's like, what's the question? Yeah, so getting it on a 3x5 card is a really good way to do that, having a moderator, if you feel like you need to do that style of engagement. I don't know how productive they are. I mean, we're talking about building trust and bringing folks into our governance.
Well, usually town halls don't have a good topic necessarily, right? I think that's why ours was,
Oh, sure, yeah, yes.
maybe we could.
But then they can also veer off course.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Like I've been to some that like the senators will have in town but then they do like a lottery system. Like to
but
pick
understand,
speakers.
those are trained professional politicians that have been speaking for years yeah, when Jeff and Ron are up speaking, they've been doing this for a long time. And so let them do the town halls and take those hits. Yeah. Really what you're trying to do is make improvements for the kids, right? So focus on what's important, make information you need to make good decisions. Okay, what else should I put in here? Oh, that's it, questions. So this is just scratching the surface. This is just the top, because I know I only have an hour. I know, haven't I you?
You
You do, yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, I didn't want to dig deeper. I mean, there's also, we can do more facilitated conversations, bring them and go a little bit deeper on. What it is you guys would like to, what you want to get out of the community engagement. The other piece is just really defining what that means for this board, for this team. What does community engagement mean? What do you want to get out of it? how do you know you've been successful?
And she is wonderful.
Mhm.
It
That
is
is such a good tool.
it's a great place to start, and it's the Swiss Army knife, you know, for you that you can, it has. It's just gonna get you out there. This month, you can be out there engaging, you know, sharing great stories from the district. And it will have impact. So, cool, okay, I think that's it, that's all the slides. Oh, yeah, always comes back to this. I will do the summary slide. We know this to be true, how you guys show up, and we're thinking about community engagement. When you show up informed and capable, you have a message to carry. The way you show up, that affects your board work, it affects board culture, it affects your organizational culture, because I guarantee you, if you're out advocating for your district out in the community, it's gonna get back to your staff. And when your teachers know that you're out there advocating for them, that's gonna impact the instruction, it's gonna impact your kids. Always comes back to this stuff. But this is really important, good stuff. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our board calendar.
Can you stop sharing?
We have the upcoming board meeting and school visit. January 27th is our regular board meeting at 5:45 p.m. On January 29th, we'll have school visits at Heritage and Valor starting at 11 a.m. And on February 10th, we'll have a work session starting at 5:45 p.m. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? At this time, the Board of Directors of Woodbury School District will now move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the Chief Executive Officer of the public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who has not requested open hearing, and ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberation for the persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations.
You're talking like.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, we're still live.
For the next hour and a half.
Hold on 1 second, sorry.
We are now back in open session. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. I now move to adjourn the meeting at 9:45 PM.
Good work, team.
Okay.